Hey guys, you're listening to the Your Party People podcast. This is Lexi Tran, owner of Ivory and Fern, a Midwest-based photographer.
And this is Katie Murphy, owner of Jane Ray Events, your Midwest wedding planner. We're here to give you couples a guide on how to maneuver one of the best days of their lives and how to keep it from being one of the worst. Welcome to the party.
Woo woo! Hey guys. We are here with episode 4, which is exciting. Last time we talked about Enneagrams, which was super exciting. I'm a 2, and Katie, you were a
3.
3.
Yes.
So that was really interesting to get to know each other's numbers, and hopefully you found your number as well. And today we're going to talk about those hot summer weddings.
Yes, and give you some good tips and tricks from our experience, and so you guys can take that and plan your weddings.
But before we jump into our tips and tricks here, it's National Pecan Day. I don't know how you say it. I say pecan. It's a pecan pie. But Katie...
Nope, I have to disagree. It is pecan.
God.
And we would like to take a poll and see what people think is the right way to pronounce this.
The pecans actually came from Plums Kitchen, which is right here in Sioux Falls. It's a local kitchen goods store. They offer cooking classes. It's a really great thing just to kind of stroll about on like a Saturday or a Sunday. They have lots of really cool kitchen stuff in there that like you can't really find like at a local Target or Walmart. So that's really cool. And they also serve all of these nice sweet treats there.
Yes, they do. And they also have a wedding registry. So if you want to sprinkle in some higher end cooking ware and dinnerware, and they also have like great cookbooks, anything you can think of with cooking utensils they have there. And so go check them out. They're right downtown.
Yeah, and that's good because I have no cooking skills. It's all Tommy that cooks at home. So.
Well, so hot summer weddings. Let's jump in. We want to give you guys like 2 or 3 tips today. And obviously the Midwest is really seasonal with weddings. Right. I mean, the winter weddings are beautiful and those are sprinkled in, but our high time is, kind of between that May and October. And I'm going to give you, like, depending on your date, your wedding date and what month that falls in, I'm going to give you just a quick tips on what to do, like indoor, outdoor ceremony, reception, and kind of how to go about that. So let's see. Our first tip. Obviously, the weather's really unpredictable throughout the Midwest and just in general. But let's say you have a date in May and June. You can go outdoor, don't you think, Lexi, with like the reception? Because it's a little cooler temps, but preferably have a cover.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every wedding I've been to that happens between May and June, the wedding day starts and all of a sudden there's an 80 to 90% chance of rain, and it always falls right over the ceremony time. And it's like, do you have something to sit under? Do you have something for your guests to sit under? Or what do we do?
Yes, that's definitely right. That I would say May and June, it can start off the day 80 and sunny, and later on the day there's a rainstorm that comes through that is not predicted at all. So best advice, have a shelter if it's in May and June. Now, July and August, sweat it out months. I mean, these get like, I feel like if you don't live in the Midwest, you don't know that it's like 80, 90s. The humidity is really high. And so just keep that in mind. I would actually suggest to go indoor with your reception. If you want to do a ceremony, do like 15, 20-minute quick ceremony outside, but keep that reception indoors.
Right. Well, and 2, don't worry about cardio because you're going to sweat everything you ate off in the last week if you have that whole half hour outside. Also, it's super important if you are really gung-ho about outside, which I think is okay. That's all right. But there are just a lot of adjustments that you should make, not only for yourselves, but for your guests and your wedding party as well.
Yes, I would agree. And then moving on to September, from my experience from doing a lot of weddings, I would say this is the best month for outdoors and ceremony and reception. The weather is more predictable. It's nice and cool once it hits after like that 6 and 7 p.m. at night. And yeah, I think that's the best time to be outside and to be like confident that everything's going to be okay.
Oh yeah, we had our wedding at the end of September, and honestly, I thought it was going to be colder than it was, and it was like a nice not too hot, but a nice warm, like 70, 80 degrees outside. And that was really unexpected. Honestly, I was like, growing up here in Sioux Falls, I was like, it snowed by like the beginning of October before. So I don't know what I'm getting at the end of September. But truthfully, it was beautiful and everyone loved it. And truthfully, like when it came to like our booking season for 2021, oh my gosh, the fall is just slam packed with weddings. Everyone realizes that that's the middle ground for weather, right? Like it's just nice enough to be outside. It's not too cold where everyone's like freezing outside. There's no snow yet. So yes, I agree. September is beautiful.
Yes, I do agree. I agree with you as well. And then let's move to October, which I would say is the last month to possibly have anything outside. Probably one of the most unpredictable when that snow comes.
Yep.
At the beginning, it can be beautiful still. You can be like 60s, 70s during the day.
Oh, yeah.
At night, it gets a little colder. But that middle and end October, I mean, just expect snow. Honestly, that's when it first starts to fall, the surprise one. And so I would keep everything inside. It'll just help with your stress level, the planning, everything. Keep it inside.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about a plan B when you know that the chance of the snow is so much higher. Like, don't put the extra stress on yourself and your people to have a plan B unless you want this. I don't know, unless you want the snow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. So, Alexi, tell us about our next tip.
Yeah, so our next tip, we're going to be talking about if you are outside in the heat and humidity, what do I do? What should I prep for? What should I plan for? Truthfully, stay inside as long as you can, like the last second, like even your guests, like let everyone corral inside almost like a cocktail hour before your ceremony. Let everyone sit inside and then say, hey, we're going to start moving outside to the ceremony. Please find your seats. There are a lot of different things you can do, like purchasing like paper fans that are custom, like with your date on them or something. Let people fan themselves. Refreshment, that is such a big thing. Like having something for your guests to drink, whether you open the bar early and let them do that, or having like just big pitchers of water for people to drink, water bottles. I mean, there are fun ways you can dress things up too with labels and things like that where they're still like appropriate for a wedding day, but it's going to keep everyone hydrated and comfortable. And I mean, hopefully just not hopefully not just overheating in the sun.
And speaking of sun,
Yes.
and ceremony time. Yeah. And so it's a great idea if you can, if it's possible at your ceremony site, to see where the sun will be at the time of ceremony. It's very important. And I'm speaking from experience of my own wedding. So when I had my wedding, the sun was shining right into my guests' faces, which, you know, I didn't think about, and everybody pulled out their sunglasses and it was okay. But we had a lot of people from Texas. My husband's from Texas, and we had a lot of them come up here, and they said it was one of the hottest days they've ever experienced. I'm like, what are you talking about? You live in Texas. It's like 100 all the time. But just keeping that in mind, and if you can change the direction of the chairs,
Yes.
whatever that may be, very helpful.
The lake is a beautiful thing to look at, but if you're blind from the sun, you can't see the lake anyway.
That's
Love that. Another thing when it comes to like the sun and like Mother Nature, obviously, is the wind. Watch the wind. Let's think about the wind, direction of the wind. What can we do? I mean, it doesn't have to be like you're changing everything because of the direction of the wind or how strong the wind is, but at least just like be aware. If it's going to be a super windy day, let's just,
keep that in mind.
yeah, keep it in mind. Yeah. We talked a little bit about, wanting everyone to be comfortable. What your party wears is super important if you're going to have a hot wedding. So like let's just talk boys here for a second. Them boys are buying full suits almost every time. Them boys be buying all the suits. And you want them to be able to wear it, and it feels like there's this like unspoken rule with boys where they have to wear the full suit. And like then you see some boys that like only wear suspenders or just, a white button-up shirt, but there's no right or wrong way to have your guys up there.
Right. When we're talking 95 degrees humidity way up there, I mean, we don't want anybody fainting. I've seen it. I've seen people faint. So keeping that in mind, I know the ceremony is the time to be the most dressed up.
Yes.
But there's a line.
Yes. And I mean, like, there are ways, just like if they've got a vest on, let them take the vest off for the ceremony. Like, when it comes to the grand scheme of things, I would rather have people be a little more comfortable than have my guests be distracted from my ceremony because all my wedding party is up there literally dripping in like visible sweat. Like, you don't want that.
Right. Definitely not. And speaking of outdoor ceremonies as well, always have a plan B.
Yes.
Because weather, it has a mind of its own, and just always have a plan B. It'll help with planning. It'll help with the stress on the day. Everything, and it's good for your vendors too, and they all chip in and help with that plan B.
Absolutely.
So have that decided and have that safety net.
Oh yes, absolutely. When it comes to the girls as well, with outfits, just be conscious of the color that you pick or the shape of the dress that you're having them in. If they do get hot and they do start to sweat, you don't want that to like be super visible. So just keeping that in the back of your head, like materials, colors, things like that. That will help a ton with keeping everyone comfortable.
Yes. Yes. So to wrap up that point, we have that done. Now we're going to hear from our girl, Ashley, with This or That, and we will be right back with you guys.
Hey, it's Ashley with This or That, the segment of the show where we do a quick comparison of two topics in the event industry. So today we're talking about buffet or plated meal. So is your event more casual? If it is, I think that a buffet probably fits that a little bit better. Your guests can get up, they can come back for seconds, they can choose the items that they want that day. They don't have to make a decision beforehand. I think that's really nice. Is your event a little more formal? Are your guests required to wear black tie? If that's the case, I think that a plated meal fits your celebration a little bit better, and that's great too. So honestly, do whatever feels most natural for your day, and if it's formal, then talk to your caterer about those plated options. If it's casual, talk to your caterer about those buffet options. Totally up to you, but try to keep a consistent theme throughout your day.
All right, we are back. Thank you, Ashley, for giving us that quick tip. And just again, reminder, it's National Pecan Day. Pecan
pie.
And we are enjoying, and more so staring, so we're not crunching into this mic, staring at these pecans from Plums Cooking downtown. Let's hand it over to Lexi for our next tip with hot summer weddings.
Yeah, so a big thing people love to do when they think about an outdoor wedding is, I want it all outside. I want a big wedding outside. How do I do that? Well, a lot of people go for a tent. Tent weddings, they're fun. I feel like more on the chic end of weddings sometimes. They entail a lot more creativity, I feel like. Sometimes you get that look from the venue itself. It's like you're building your own venue. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so a tent can be a great alternative to a hot wedding. But there are a lot of things that go into a tent wedding. And don't worry, we're going to talk all about tent weddings all on its own in a later episode. But today, we're just going to give you a brief overview of some things to just start thinking about with a tent wedding.
Right. Yes. And one of those things, I mean, from experience again, if you're going to have a tent and it's really hot, like in July or August, keep those tent sides up, because it can just heat box you in there and you will just sweat. All your guests will sweat. It's not good. So keep the sides up. That would be my number one tip with the tent outside.
Oh my gosh. I never even thought about that. It would literally just be like an oven, just roasting everything.
Oh, it's roasting.
Let the air in. Let it flow.
Yes.
There are a lot of ways you can dress a tent up. Like we've discussed before, lights. There are floral arrangements you can make happen within a tent. small details, like when it comes to having a bar in there, all of those little details that are going to help make a tent wedding feel like you're in any kind of venue, but have the luxury of being outside.
Right. And you can still keep it cool in there.
Yep.
I've even brought in fans before in a tent when it's really hot out, when you can't keep all the sides down because of the wind. This beautiful wind in South Dakota, which and all of Midwest, honestly, which leads into our next tip. Just keeping in mind the wind.
Yes.
So the first thing, those beautiful Pinterest photos of, it's classic. You see the wood arch, you see the flowers in the corner, and you see this beautiful drape right over top of the arch. It's just falling so nicely. Yes, you guys, I am sorry. That is very unrealistic. It will be blowing everywhere, hitting bridesmaids in the face, So keeping in mind, maybe if you're open to like wrapping around the arch instead of it falling, that's one point I would give with ceremony. And also unity.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping in mind like that unity symbol, whatever you guys end up choosing, there's so many out there. Candle lighting and the sand, I would recommend not being outside for obvious reasons. Because you really don't want to light that candle and poof, it blows out. That's not a really good unity symbol during your during your ceremony. Also, microphones, like having those up there and getting that feedback. Have you heard that before?
Yes, we have. And I haven't done a ton of tent weddings because I feel like they come in to trend and they come out and they come in and they come out. And the couple we have done have been ungodly hot, like just so hot. And they also just really, when it comes to audio and when we were doing video for these tent weddings, it made it really hard because we're outside, obviously, which can be great, but can also be a downfall as well because it's so unpredictable outside. Then when it does get windy, all of a sudden we're in the middle of a speech, all the sides are up. It's great, it's wonderful outside. All of a sudden this gust of wind comes through and we lose half of it because it just overtakes the whole speech or the whole whatever is happening at that moment. Or we've seen literally things blow over, like ceremony arches, that our big wood arches just completely fall backwards or forwards. And like the last thing you want is to be up saying your vows in love and all of a sudden it falls down and you're lucky if it falls behind you and not in front of you.
Right. And don't worry, there are ways to anchor that baby down so it will not take out, best man on the right there. And then moving inside, or keeping it outside with the reception, if you have those outside, something to keep in mind are centerpieces, like you mentioned, Lexi, those blowing over.
Yes.
And please don't do anything tall. I know they're beautiful. I personally love tall centerpieces, but outside it's just not a good idea because you don't know when that wind is going to pick up.
Right.
And also even the short centerpieces, keeping them weighted down, because I've seen little stubby guys fall over and water's all over the table too, but keeping like rocks inside the vase, tips and tricks like that just to keep it heavier, it won't blow over.
And would you say, Katie, that there are like ways to add dimension to a tent wedding without having to have tall center? Because I feel like a lot of people want tall centerpieces to like break up the space, but would you say that there's like other ways in a tent wedding that they can have that dimension without having to have like a 4-foot tall centerpiece?
Yes, absolutely. The bistro lights hanging in the tent or anything hanging. I love florals hanging. We'll get to that in a later episode, but yes, florals hanging and bistro lights, anything to bring down the ceiling a little bit and shorten the space between the table and the ceiling will help with not having tall centerpieces.
Love it.
Yes. Other little tips too, keeping in mind with that wind at your reception, no taper candles, the tall candles that have the natural flame, and candles in general. I love natural candlelight. There's nothing like it, it adds that like romance and very cozy feel, but LEDs, they won't blow out. So suggest having those in maybe some taller ones, and then you can still have the light like that.
Love it.
Also, a couple other things regarding linens, napkins, kind of keeping in mind the fold of the napkin. I know that really gets down to detail, but if you have something that's just laying on the table, they all blow over, all blow away. So a knot fold helps with that, keeps it a little more heavy in the center. Yeah. And cocktail tables, having a tie in the center of those, because once the wind picks up on those linens, they will all blow over. I'm having like flashbacks right now as I talk about this.
Drama.
And just to wrap that up too, any kind of paper items on the table, like menus or thank you cards or place cards, try to think of an alternative for that. There are several ideas that you can do, like putting names and menus on like acrylic pieces or crystal rocks. Even I've seen like those shaved flat rocks. Ideas like that are much better for outdoors.
That. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, like, I feel like we have talked about this before. We could talk about it forever, truthfully. But really the whole point of that was to just give you guys some good concrete tips to guide you through your decision-making process when it comes to having a hot wedding, hot summer nights.
Yes. And so we're going to wrap up this episode. Yeah. And thank you again for Plums for giving us these pecans. They're delicious, I'm sure. We'll find out afterwards. And we will check in with you guys on our next episode,
which is a big one, a big episode. We are going to have our first guest speaker on the next one. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you guys and have a good day.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Your Party People podcast. If you already love us, make sure to come back to the party every other Wednesday.
If you really love us, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at It's Your Party People Podcast. And make sure to let us know your thoughts on the show and if you have any topics you want us to cover in a future episode. DM us on Instagram or email us at yourpartypeoplepodcast@gmail.com and maybe we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. See you at the next party.
Bye.